The alert queue is already full when you sit down. You are watching red notifications stack faster than you can read them. You do not know what most of them mean yet. You click, escalate, close, repeat. No one is explaining anything to you, but someone is watching how you react. You are a Tier 1 security analyst. Your responsibility is simple on paper. Monitor alerts, follow playbooks, escalate anything unclear. You sit in a crowded operations room under fluorescent lights that never dim, surrounded by overlapping conversations and the constant hum of systems you do not control. Your power is almost non-existent. You cannot change infrastructure. You cannot investigate deeply. You react. At first, you assume the system is chaotic. Then you realize it is structured in ways you are not allowed to see. Patterns exist, but you are not trained to recognize them yet. You begin memorizing alert types, correlating timestamps, noticing which incidents get attention and which quietly disappear. The cost begins subtly. You stop trusting your own judgment because every decision must align with procedure. You learn to suppress instinct in favor of compliance. Over time, you stop asking why something happens. You only decide whether it fits a category. Days blur into identical shifts. The room never changes. But you do. You are moved without ceremony. You are now a Tier 2 incident responder. The environment shifts. Fewer people. Quieter space. Multiple screens arranged for depth instead of volume. You are no longer just reacting. You investigate. Alerts now come to you after someone else fails to understand them. Your responsibility expands into analysis. You reconstruct timelines, trace lateral movement, identify compromised endpoints. You are given limited authority to contain threats. You can isolate machines, revoke access, interrupt processes. This is the first time your actions have visible consequences. You resolve your first real incident. It is contained before it spreads. Your name is noted. No one congratulates you, but you are given more work. With competence comes a new requirement. You must make decisions before certainty exists. You begin acting on probability. That is where the cost begins to grow. You make your first mistake. A false positive leads to unnecessary disruption. It is corrected quickly, but recorded permanently. You learn that accuracy is not enough. You must be precise under pressure. Sleep becomes inconsistent. You replay incidents after your shift ends. You begin to see networks when you close your eyes. The system is no longer something you log into. It follows you. You are promoted again. You are a threat hunter. The room changes again. Fewer desks. No constant noise. Just quiet concentration. You are not assigned alerts anymore. You create them. Your responsibility is to find what the system failed to detect. You search for anomalies without confirmation they exist. You build hypotheses and test them against massive data flows. You operate in uncertainty by design. Your power increases. You define what counts as suspicious behavior. Your findings reshape detection rules. You influence how the system perceives threats. The cost is no longer procedural. It becomes psychological. You begin to assume that absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. Every clean result feels incomplete. Every quiet network feels deceptive. You start to distrust stability itself. You discover a hidden intrusion weeks after it began. No alert ever triggered. Your investigation exposes it. The organization responds quickly. The breach is contained. You are recognized, but the recognition changes nothing. Instead, expectations rise. You are now expected to find what others cannot even imagine. You stop seeing systems as neutral. Everything becomes a potential signal. You move again. You are now a security engineer. Your environment becomes controlled. Private workspace, structured meetings, access to architecture. You are no longer searching for threats. You are designing against them. Your responsibility is to build systems that anticipate attacks. You configure defenses, automate responses, and redesign infrastructure to reduce exposure. Your decisions shape how the entire network behaves. Your power expands beyond detection. You influence prevention. The cost shifts again. You begin making trade-offs that are not visible at lower levels. Increased security introduces friction. Stronger controls limit usability. Every decision protects something while weakening something else. You start prioritizing risk over convenience. Then you begin prioritizing efficiency over both. You notice that not all vulnerabilities are fixed. Some are documented and accepted. You are part of those decisions now. You learn that complete security is not the goal. Managed risk is. Your perspective changes. Users are no longer individuals. They are variables. You work longer hours without noticing. The boundaries between implementation and consequence blur. When something fails, it is no longer an alert. It is your design. You are elevated again. You are a senior security architect. The office is quieter, more isolated. Meetings are smaller. Conversations are strategic. You are no longer focused on individual systems. You oversee entire frameworks. Your responsibility is to define security at scale. You align infrastructure, policy, and business objectives. You do not respond to incidents directly. You shape the environment in which incidents occur. Your power is systemic. You influence budgets, priorities, long-term direction. The cost becomes harder to measure. You are now distant from the events you once handled directly. Breaches are summarized for you. You read reports instead of experiencing incidents. Over time, those reports become abstractions. You begin to think in probabilities and models instead of people and machines. You calculate acceptable loss. You decide response strategy. You realize that speed is no longer your primary function. Control is. Isolation increases. Fewer people understand your decisions. Fewer people question them. You are promoted once more. You are the chief security architect. The environment is minimal. A quiet office, often at night. A city visible through glass, systems operating beneath it. There is no noise here. No alerts. Only information filtered through layers of abstraction. Your responsibility is absolute within your domain. You define the organization's security posture entirely. Every system, every process, every user operates within boundaries you design. Your power is complete. You decide what risks are taken. You decide what threats are acknowledged. You decide where resources are allocated and where they are withheld. You no longer see individual incidents. You see patterns of behavior across time. You anticipate not just attacks, but intentions. The cost is final. You have spent years reducing uncertainty, but in doing so, you have removed direct experience. The system is no longer something you interact with. It is something you control from a distance. You begin to notice that your decisions are no longer grounded in observation. They are based on models you trust because you created them. You predict threats by predicting people. Over time, that prediction extends beyond attackers. You start to anticipate internal behavior, executive decisions, user reactions. Everything becomes a variable in a system you oversee. You realize that the network was never the most unpredictable element. It was always the human layer. And now that is what you model. The room remains silent. The systems continue without interruption. There are no alerts reaching you anymore. Nothing immediate demands your attention. You have reached the highest level of control available. There is nothing left to escalate. You no longer react. You no longer investigate. You no longer build. You define. And in doing so, you no longer experience the system as part of it. You exist outside it. The vulnerability you spent years trying to eliminate is no longer in the network. It is in the distance you created between yourself and everything you once understood.